Good evening, and welcome to History Theater. Tonight's tale is that of power, love, betrayal, pain, and death. I'm talking, of course, of Henry VIII's 6 wives. The mortal women, each for their own reasons, married a powerful and enigmatic man. To begin with, Henry was the son of Henry VII. He was crowned at the age of 18, when Henry received a special dispensation from the Pope in order to marry his brother's widow, Catherine of Aragon. She was a Spanish princess that was sent over at the age of 16 to marry Arthur, Henry's older brother. Arthur died less than 6 months after their marriage, leaving Catherine betrothed to his younger brother, Henry. They lived very happily together, and she bore him a child, a little girl named Mary. However, Henry, like most men, desperately wanted a male heir, which it seemed that his darling Catherine could not give him. Towards the end of their marriage, Henry began eyeing one of the Queen's ladies-in-waiting, Anne Boleyn. Anne refused Henry's advances without the benefit of a wedding, so Henry did what any loving husband would do. He broke with the Catholic Church, created his own, divorced his wife, and banished her and her daughter to live in a dank hovel of a castle and married Anne Boleyn, her lady-in-waiting. For all the trouble that Henry had undergone to marry Anne Boleyn, their marriage did not last long. First was the disappointment of another female child, Elizabeth. Then came rumors that Anne had been unfaithful to Henry, which neatly coincided with Henry's new infatuation for Jane Seymour. Eventually, Anne was tried for treason. She was beheaded on the Tower Green in the Tower of London. She was little mourned. In her short reign, she had managed to alienate just about everyone at court. Within 24 hours of Anne Boleyn's execution, Jane and Henry were formally betrothed. Anne Boleyn had been executed on May 19, 1536, and Jane Seymour and Henry celebrated their wedding on May 30, 1536. Unlike the previous two queens, Jane did not have a coronation. Perhaps Henry was waiting for her to prove herself by producing a son. On October 15, 1537, Henry's first true son, Edward, was born. She died 2 weeks after her son's birth. She was the only of his 6 wives to be buried with him at St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. Anne of Cleves, whom Henry married on the basis of a highly flattering portrait, which proved to be largely artistic license. Henry was not a very forgiving art critic. By the time that the wedding finally took place, Henry was already looking for a new wife. He found one, the young Catherine Howard. Anne's marriage lasted only 6 months, till July 1540. However, she remained good friends with England, and she stayed in court in England for some years. Catherine Howard was the first cousin to Anne Boleyn, and a lady-in-waiting to Anne of Cleves. 16 days after Henry was free of Anne of Cleves, he took his 5th wife, Catherine, on July 28, 1540. Henry was 49, and his bride was no more than 19. Less than a year into the marriage, rumors of infidelity began. In a way, people cannot blame her for seeking young, handsome men closer to her own age, but to do so, even through courtly flirtations for Queen, was dangerous. By November 1541, there was enough evidence against her for the king to be informed of her misconduct. She was executed on the Tower Green and laid to rest near her cousin, Anne Boleyn. Catherine Parr, the last of Henry's wives, like Henry himself, had been married several times previous, first to Sir Edward Burrough, then to Sir John Neville. She was widowed twice. Catherine was considering marrying Thomas Seymour, brother to the late Jane Seymour, until Henry came into the picture. Catherine rejected Thomas's proposal and accepted that of the king's, even though she did not have much choice in the matter. Henry's health had been rapidly declining over the last few years, so his last wife was more of a nurse than anything else. After the king died in 1547, Catherine married Thomas Seymour and died giving birth to his son on August 30th, 1548.
A tale is told of love and woe, of the misleads and misdeeds, ending in the death of 3, 2 divorced, 1 by force. 1 survived, remarried, and died. A sad tale it is to see, the story of King Henry and his wives, 3 and 3.